All right. Hey, Dom, how you doing?
Good, Jess. How you doing?
I am doing pretty good. Crazy
Good.
times. Um, so
Absolutely.
just so just a quick introduction for those who don't know me. I'm Jessica Noble, CEO of Magnetic Experiences. Here today talking with Dom Cristelli. He's with Velocio, and he VP of Sales.
Yep. VP of Sales. Yep.
I have known
I have a
Dom.
hard time believing that sometimes too.
I've known Dom a long time in a lot of different roles, so I have a short memory. We're former colleagues, and we actually got to know each other a little bit better when we went through, or he was actually a facilitator when I went through a program, a leadership program with Society of International Business Fellows, known
Yeah.
as SIBF. It's for high potential executives, and so we got to know each other a little bit better there. And putting this summit together and thinking about who could talk about sales and how you do that with integrity, and so not just opting out of selling but doing it, not being tone deaf, not being opportunistic or coming across that way. And so Dom came straight to mind. So
Oh,
Dom,
thanks.
just yeah, you were the only one actually that came to mind. If I had to come up with someone better, no, I'm just kidding. uh,
Good.
So just really quickly, can you just introduce yourself and your current role, and then we'll dive into other stuff.
Yeah, sure. So as you pointed out, Dom Cristelli, VP of Sales at Velocio. Actually been there for over 2 years now, which is hard to believe. Time's flown by that fast. Learned a lot the first year, learned even more the second year, and feel as we head in his third year, I'm pretty well primed to really take Velocio where it needs to go with the background I've had there, the history I've had there now. Prior to that, like you, I was with TriBridge for almost 15 years, had different roles there, all in sales. But ironically, my background prior to being in sales was on the delivery side. So, ironically, implementing the solutions that I currently sell and even beyond. Going back, I actually used to be an SAP consultant and implemented SAP for a while too. So I've
Oh,
experienced on both sides. I was owned a few businesses, and in one of the businesses, one of my partners said, "Well, if you think you can sell better than our team is doing, then give it a shot." So he was baiting me, and I took it and closed the deal with You Promise right out of the gate, which is a big customer of ours at the time, and got the bug for it, and then was in sales ever since. And then leadership, probably the last maybe 10 years or so on the leadership side.
wow. So before we dive into the businessy questions about sales, I think you're actually maybe raising a sales rep or two. Um,
Or three.
oh
Or
gosh.
four.
So how is the fam doing now that you're all cooped up at
Yeah.
home?
Thanks for asking. It's my favorite thing to talk about. As you know, I
I
love.
know.
So everyone's doing great, healthy, knock on wood. The cool thing, there's been a couple of cool things that come out of this quarantine. All three of my kids are riding bikes. Anthony, my oldest, is 12, was been reluctant for some reason his first few years here on Earth and did not want to ride a bike, had no interest in riding a bike. We bought him a bike, it just would collect dust. We'd resell it on different sites. And finally, with this, watching his sisters, I think Lauren got him the bug. And now he knows he can go to his friend's house to play video games if he can ride his bike. So he's got the bug for it, and the girls have caught on now as well. So that's been the one good thing. My wife, Melanie, has just done an outstanding job at homeschooling the kids. Especially with Anthony's in sixth grade this year, so it's been a big adjustment going to middle school. And I keep teasing her, she's killing sixth grade the second time around. So, but the first week was really tough getting him in the schedule. My joke was, there's not enough wine in Georgia to help my wife right now, but we've fallen into rhythm, and they're doing activities outside, with the exception of today, weather permitting, and they're putting exercise in the routine. So all in all is great, but I'm really proud of how Melanie's handled being the addition of teaching 3 grades right now and homeschooling. It's been fun.
Yeah, well, I am sure a lot of people listening can relate and are going through similar things in terms of whether they're the ones doing the homeschooling or a significant other. So
Yeah, that's
Props
actually
to
been
her.
kind of the fun part. As you're on conference calls, you're hearing noises you never heard before, because everybody's working from home, and
Yeah,
everybody's kid is home. It's not,
yeah.
it's not just the time or when maybe different breaks with school, but everybody's home. So there's not a call I'm not on now where there's not some sort of noise in the background from a kid or a wife telling, "Hey, lunchtime." It happens. But it's the new way. It's the new normal.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, it definitely makes it easier to get to know your team in a little bit of a different, more casual way because they see the home environment and
Yeah.
distractions and
And I actually think it's good for the kids because my son and my daughters will hear me talk at work and they start to ask questions at the dinner table, what we talked about today, and kind of involves them a little bit. And it's kind of cool to see the questions they ask and just the things that they pick up on from these conversations. So it's all been good.
that's awesome. The junior associates.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
so let's dive into the topic at hand, which is selling strategies in an environment like we're in today, which we were talking before we jumped into this recording mode about really it's different than we've ever been in before because the whole world is going through it when previous slowdowns and events like 9/11 it wasn't the same, and even if the whole world was involved you were on different sides or whatnot, and so this is crazy. What impact are you seeing with your team and your customers? Are you seeing a slowdown with the current conditions? Just kind of share with me what you're seeing.
Yeah, it's been mixed, and I want to knock on wood here. The last 2 weeks were actually the best 2 weeks in the history of Velocio. It's been crazy how that worked out. Now, I'll preface that by saying our big deals continue to close. So we've got
Um,
great reps, great teams on those deals. But the common thread is they all have to move forward no matter what. So if
yep.
they're going to stay, some of them are carve outs from big companies that, hey, we need to be out of this company's software and stop using their systems by a certain date, or they're startups, or they've been brought private equities come in and say, no excuses. COVID, war, World War, we don't care. You need to be live by this date. And we've been kind of fortunate that we've had those opportunities, and we've coached the team. We've coached our prospects as well that this needs to happen. The smaller deals, they've slipped a little bit, but still we continue. We close about 30 deals a week from different varieties of our businesses. We tend to really focus on small to medium businesses with a good sized companies that, on the upper side. Certainly not enterprise, what we're used to, but certainly large deals. We closed, $1.5 million deal for us last week, which is really a really big deal for us. But so those deals are continuing to happen. It's the smaller ones where companies are like, yeah, I really can't afford to spend this $75,000 today. I need to wait. So I think it's been a mix, but knock on wood, fortunate we're coming off our best 2 weeks, ironically, in the history of the company.
And are these software implementations? Is that the type of deal that you're closing, or what's kind of the range?
Yeah, they're all related to either ERP. One of the large ones we closed was a CRM deal,
Okay.
with a company that's part of Home Depot, and they
Okay.
had Compact Power. They had to go live by a certain date because Microsoft was going to sunset what they're supporting. So one of the things we have at Velocio is we have this advantage of we've been doing rapid remote implementations for a long time. So what that means is we're able to do deals quickly, or do implementations quickly, I should say, and do them remotely. So we've mostly done that around our smaller practices to help our customers save money. They don't have to pay for expenses to be on site. We're able to
Yeah.
do a lot of them remotely, take advantage of the cloud and things like that. Well, now we're able to take that and put that into our bigger deals for at least to kick the projects off. Because right now that we actually have a travel ban through April 15th for now,
Hmm.
where none of our consultants are traveling. So we still have to, those deadlines that those customers sign up for are still there. So we
Yeah.
have to find a way to get those projects kicked off. And we're leveraging technology and some of our implementation strategy from smaller deals and bringing them into bigger deals.
Yeah. Well, you've shared with me a couple of emails that you sent out to your team, and one of the things that jumped out at me was a comment that you made about being able to show value because your team is comfortable working remotely and helping your customers adapt to that way of working. Talk a little bit about that, because I love the show value. It's an opportunity for that.
Yeah, what we're really trying to show our customers is resiliency, continuity, and how to work self-improvement, how to work on their own.
Yeah.
So we've been able to do that. We take advantage of technology. We're doing a Zoom here. We've adopted more Teams because we're a Microsoft shop, but the
Yep.
concept is the same. And
Yep.
we've actually called timeout in some of our deals and some of our businesses to look for ways to help our customers. And it's
Mm.
not about, it's to your point, it's about the integrity of it and the
Yep.
integrity of the relationship. We get something out of it, great, but we're adding value to our customers by saying, Mr. Customer, we realize you can't have people in the office right now. Have you already owned Teams? How can we show you how to leverage this
Yeah.
so you can communicate and your businesses can continue to communicate? It's funny, you've seen a lot of commercials recently, even before the COVID-19 scare really hit in early March. A lot of Teams commercials, and now you're seeing more and more from Microsoft and how to
Yeah.
conduct remotely. What's funny is they're not related to the COVID crisis we have right now. They're just related to working remotely, which a lot of companies are doing. So I think out of this, I think you're going to see more companies even adopt the
Oh yeah.
remote work or more. And so we're just showing companies, hey, this is how you can leverage technology. So not everyone has to be in the office. And sometimes you get customers that think, man, it hurts our culture by not having everyone in one location. That can be it, but if you're not empowering people, as we know, right? If you're not empowering people to create their own culture, they're not going to do it. So if you're saying, hey, you have to be in the office, well, that guy or person is driving to work every day saying, I don't want to be in the office. They're making me here. And how much are they going to do? But if you make it fun and use Teams in a fun way, or Zoom, and it's even seen it. You were talking about my kids. My kids are using Zoom every day. They are getting with their classmates. All three. I've got a second, a third, and a sixth grader, and they're all meeting different ways with their teachers. I love the way the teachers have been using it. My wife was just downstairs on a Zoom meeting. She's part of the foundation, which is similar to PTA at the school, and they were meeting because they have to continue to meet to for their board requirements. So, just leveraging that type of technology has been really helpful, and showing the value of using that for sure.
I love that. And actually on Friday, I had a Zoom happy hour with folks you would know, the old business consulting team, which I still refer to as my team in present tense, but it's been a couple years. But yeah, we did a happy hour, and we were talking about the fact, I may have said we probably wouldn't get along if we'd been in the office every day. We'd have driven each other nuts. But
Yeah.
we're still super tight because we had a little space from each other. And so when we did get to see each other face to face, that was a treat rather than, can you
Right.
stop eating lunch at your desk so loud? You're driving me crazy. And, those types of things.
Yeah. No, those little idiosyncrasies that drive us nuts. I agree. We've adopted that as well. We've done some team happy hours. They can bring a beverage or not in that case, but it's more about being together. And some of them we've actually adopted a theme just to make them different each time. Can everyone wear a crazy hat or crazy socks or pajama day?
Yeah.
So kind of implementing those things to keep it fun. And we're really trying to make sure that we're not always talking about work when we do this. If it's a happy hour event, then we want to talk about the Tiger Man series on Netflix or Tiger.
Yes.
So we're talking about those type of things versus it makes it genuine. We're trying to connect with our people because you cannot connect physically right now, but it doesn't mean physical distancing doesn't mean less communication. Matter of fact, it probably means you have to do more because you're missing that physical contact. So you need to make sure we're interacting differently, and got to find creative ways like the team happy hour through Zoom or Teams to do that. And it's really helped us keep our team together and keep spirits high. And there's so much doom and gloom out there, and in some cases, rightfully so. But business is still open. We still have to continue to contribute to the economy and help as best we can. But got to keep spirits up.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I've been talking to people and they're like, oh, how are you? I just take the baseline situation as the, new interim normal. So it's most of the time I'm doing great considering circumstances. And we all have been or will be likely touched by the situation you were sharing with me about your family and a rough week with COVID. And, Yeah, so we don't want to minimize that, but at the same time, we have to encourage each other, introduce levity. So on that note, how are you going about selling differently? Because that is typically something that you do in person, the presentations, the discovery meetings. How are you doing that in this remote scenario?
It's definitely a little harder because customers like to connect
Yeah,
with who they're buying from, with their partners. I don't like the word vendor. So,
yeah,
if we're a vendor in a deal, we're not winning. We're a partner in the deal.
yeah,
But again, it goes to showing value. So you just have to be sensitive to it. But we've been early adopters to, as I mentioned, the rapid remote implementations. We've done the same in our sales process. So again, this is not new to us. We've maybe taken it to another level
yeah,
and adapted to it in our sales cycle. But a couple things, you should always be prepared for every presentation, every meeting. But when you're on site, you've got a little bit more room because you can read body language
yeah,
and you can kind of see how things are going, and you could react that way. But when you're doing it remotely, you have to be even more prepared than normal because you want them to feel like the meeting isn't remote, that you're
right.
actually there. You want them to be able to hit the end button at the end of the meeting and think, "Oh, I thought they were right here the whole time." So
Hmm.
do that, you have to be really prepared. So, we've been able to leverage the technology that we have in Teams, and really focus and be prepared and not take anything for granted. But along the way, make sure we're being sensitive and adding value to each conversation to help our customers or prospect to get over the hump of what they need. The fundamentals are still there. You have to listen. You have to have good response time, right? Those things, whether you're doing remotely or in person, don't change. So if you're prepared and you're listening and you have a good eye and ear and good heart for this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think the heart and being authentic and genuine. I know for me working remotely, I just um a lot more or much more quickly I'm asking someone if I can't read them, just hey, I'm sensing, or am I reading into this, or
Yeah.
are you frustrated, and just asking. Whereas in the room I might just rely more on body language, but it's over the phone, so I'm just like, I'm just going to ask and
Yeah.
get that out on the table, since it is different, especially if you aren't using video.
Right. If or even you may be using video, but not be able to see that person.
Right.
Sometimes you can't get to the conference room. So you
Yeah.
may have to remind, hey, Mr. CEO, is this what you want to see? Or is it we heading in the right direction? I know I can't see you, but is this working out? So you just want to make sure brings up an extra level of your spidey sense, your alertness
Yeah.
that you need to have, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. Spidey sense. That one of the big takeaways from this meeting. Um, so what are some of the different what are some of the different strategies
I do
that
have a
you're
slight
I did a webinar for a mutual friend, Joelle, last week, and I could not, I hadn't had a cough in weeks. I could not stop coughing. It was entertaining to say the least. So what strategies are you applying in the selling process to move deals forward, or the right deals forward?
Yeah, again, it's you have to be sensitive to what the client is. It something they absolutely have to do? If they are, then you've got to pull them in and work together. Look, Mr. Prospect, we know this is something you have to do. You have a deadline. How do we get there? How do we get there from here? And sometimes you have to be creative in the process to keep the deal going. All our deals require a certain percentage
Mm,
deposit on the
yeah,
services up front. Maybe we need to waive that because they're considering, hey, we might be in a cash crunch. How can we help us out there? So maybe instead of doing a 20% deposit up front, we're doing a 10% or even waiving deposit currently to get up front. But we want to make sure we're using it to close the deal, not just
yeah.
to offer it, right? So there's still some tactics there. But yeah, we're doing that kind of thing. One of the most creative things we found is working with finance companies. So there's
Mm,
companies out there that specifically finance ERP and CRM deals from software, if it's on-prem software, to even SaaS, to the implementation services and everything related to it. So if they are in good standing and just afraid, want to hold on to their cash, working with a company like Tryfin Capital out of California is a great way to look at a deal differently and get it closed. And it's great for us because if it's finance, we typically will get all that money up front, and then they're paying the finance company on a monthly basis. But we get to recognize that revenue up front. So that's a great alternative way and a very creative way that I used to do that kind of business, 8, 7 years ago. Now it's coming back in the fold with what's happening in the market.
Yeah, no, that's positive if you can introduce people to that option, because maybe a month ago they weren't thinking that they wanted to
Yeah.
go that route, and now they're like, you know what, that's going to be better for us, just given the
Yeah,
uncertainty.
and if things change, they can always pay it off early, right? They're not tied to it, but usually the interests are great depending on the company's standing, and but we've had some good success in doing that.
Yeah. One of the things I want to highlight that you said is being sensitive to the situation. And that, as well as using good judgment, were both woven into the emails that you were sending your team that you shared with me.
Yeah.
And I just think it's super important to highlight that is, all of the strategies and tips are super helpful, but we have to trust our teams and remind them that they are empowered and should be using good judgment, because they're the ones that have the relationships, and being uber sensitive to the situation. And a lot of them are already inclined to be that way. But they may have had bosses in the past that they didn't feel like that would be supported.
Well, you're right. I think when you look at us as leaders, right? Our
Mhm.
teams want to emulate our leadership. So it starts with us. So if
Yes.
we're genuine with them up front, they will tend to be genuine with their customers and prospects. But we want to, they want to emulate us across all aspects. So if we're positive and keeping a positive message, they will continue on with that positive message. But if we're kind of, doom and gloom, they're going to be doom and gloom too. So we have to keep it positive, not only in our body language, even if it's remote like this, but
Yeah.
but even in our words and how we send an email. But I think it's part of, as a sales leader, my job is to get us to close as much revenue as fast as we can, as soon as we can. Well, in these times, you got to be careful with that, because you want to make sure that's still the number one goal, but you got to be sensitive and make sure that we're in the right deal with the right
Yeah.
customer. And sometimes we can only control what we can control. I say that all the time. We can't control that something's happened in the customer's business or prospect's business. We can't control that there's a global crisis, but what we can control goes down to attitude. We can always control attitude and effort. And that applies in, it's a sports metaphor, but applies in sales too. So if we're genuine with our customers, and if I'm putting pressure on my team to close deals, I'm putting pressure on to close the deals I know we can close,
Yeah.
versus I don't care, go close that deal. I don't care what the customer said, go get it done, right? We can't operate that way. We have to,
No.
as much as fun it is to be Glengarry Glen Ross, it's, it's a different world these days. So you have to be sensitive to that, to some aspect, and you want to close as much business as we can, but you also need to remind yourself that you're trying to keep not only a customer and a prospect for life, or customer for life, you want to keep that team member for life too. It's important to, if you, especially now, I really feel like today, in the 2+ years, going in year 3 at Velocio, this is the best sales team we've put together. And I want this team. Hey, I love this team.
Yeah.
The last 2 weeks show how they can perform in a crisis. But
Mm.
if I'm just, everything's about now, today, I'm going to lose a good group of people here. So, kind of got to show a little bit of compassion and empathy, but in the same breath, you got to get the job done. So as long as we're listening and
Yeah.
have our facts backed up, we should be fine.
Yeah, I love hearing that. I think one thing that companies and brands hopefully are cognizant of is that how companies behave in this point in time with their customers and prospects, that's going to stick with their reputation a long time. I don't typically jump on the customer loyalty bandwagon, just
Yeah.
because I'm not a terribly loyal person, in terms of, if something better pops up, I mean,
Yeah.
nice knowing you.
Right. Right.
But I do know that when in 1980, so 40 years ago, our house burnt down, and the insurance company my parents had was phenomenal. And several of the other insurance companies were the opposite of phenomenal. To this day, my parents and my 3 siblings, we're all with that same insurance company,
That's amazing. Yeah.
because we never forget what they did. And so, yeah, I would stay. I don't care if another company has better prices, because they acted with integrity, and we have very long memories. And I think that it's the same
And you
today.
saw how they acted in the crisis,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that's important. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's the same thing. And you look at our business, same as yours, right? When we're interacting with C-level executives or even a little VPs that are going to be C-level executives somewhere else, we want them, when they go start that new job, we want them to think of, well, I need to call Jess for this issue. I need to call Dom to go implement CRM and ERP for us because they did a great job for us there. That's the kind of stuff that will keep keep your business going. And one of the things, I shared this with someone today, actually, on a Microsoft call, is it took me 50 years to build the reputation I have, but I can lose it in 10 seconds if I
Yeah.
say something dumb on our interview, or do something dumb. My reputation can be shot really quickly.
Yeah.
So it takes forever to build it up, but it can take one little domino to make it fall. So we have to be careful in what we're saying to prospects and customers. It goes back to always be adding value. Always
Yeah.
be adding value in every conversation, and you'll have a customer for life.
Yeah. I love that. So we talked briefly about, keeping positivity and, having those less work focused moments with teams, but how do you keep positivity in throughout the day when the team is coming back and encountering different struggles? How are you keeping that at the forefront?
Yeah, it's a challenge because but it goes back to communication,
Hmm.
and being responsive to when you see, I guess it's more important to pick your time when you're responsive, and pick what you're responsive to. I've got 40 people roughly on the team that we're managing, depends, and then another 25, 70 people on top of that are always pinging. So you have to pick and choose what you do on a timely basis, and kind of prioritize. All right, this email can wait till tomorrow. This response needs to go now. And by the way, it needs to be a phone call. And I think that's something that we've lost in this email generation. Is I try to, be an individual, pick up the phone or do a Teams call to have that one-on-one time versus just responding to an email. Because the tone could be totally. I've had this a bunch of times where hey, I'm sorry, that wasn't the tone I meant. Wasn't condoning you. I was just
Yeah.
trying to point out something, but you can't control how they feel that tone went. So I think it's important to pick up, especially nowadays, pick up the phone and talk to people. Have these live meetings with cameras. I am not big into the camera thing with
I am
teams,
not either.
but I'm starting to come around to it because I think in this time it's crucial to do that. Again, social distancing doesn't mean less conversation. Actually means we should be having more. So I think being responsive to the things that need immediate response to, and tackling them without an email and doing it one-on-one or on a phone call, I think are more crucial. I think it should be done as a practice overall, but I think it's even more crucial to do it now.
Yeah, and I think someone's positivity, it feels so much more genuine, and it's so much easier to receive it, at least for me, when I know that person understands where I'm at or the circumstances. So it's not that they're disregarding what's going on. And in this case, we're all in a similar circumstance, but it affects us all very differently. And so when people know that you have that going on and understand it, then the positivity is considering the situation rather than trying to just gloss over it. And then it just feels contrived.
Well, send someone a smiley face in an email. They don't know if you're being a smart aleck or if you really meant. But if you see someone smile on a video call, well, it's genuine. So it goes to that. If you're gonna praise someone, pick up the phone, call them, praise them. Or if they have an issue, pick up the phone. Let's resolve the issue together.
Yeah. So probably the last question that pops into my mind is, are you seeing a difference between current customers and prospects in terms of how they're engaging, um, going back into their shell, wanting to move forward more quickly? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, it's funny. I think I remember when I had my own business when 9/11 hit, and was part of a business when Black Monday and the stock market crashed, and seeing different reactions. Back then, I think we were able to really focus on our customer base to help us drive revenue and kind of come through that because net new business had stopped. I actually am starting to see a weird trend. I don't know if it's just our business or if it's just a temporary thing, but I'm actually seeing our prospects move us forward more than our customers. Again, this is just over the last month or so.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing that, the bigger, larger deals we've closed have been, most of them have been new customers, net new deals. And again, it goes back to, hey, are we meeting their needs? They have a deadline to hit. And there are certain, are we meeting their business requirements, and they have to be live by a certain date. So we're seeing that where a customer can almost take it for granted and say, yeah, I can do this project next year. My business, we already have the latest and greatest technology. I already have technology that works. So I'm just going to ride this out, where a new prospect says, I got to be off of the system by this date, or this has got to happen, or we've got private equity money that's come in and I have to move off of the system, or Microsoft's telling me that this system is now going to be obsolete in 6 months and I have a deadline to be off of it. So that's helping us drive that versus, the customer staying put. And sometimes, unfortunately, it is better, fortunately for the customer, unfortunately bad for revenue. Sometimes it is better for them to stay put for a minute. Let's see how this shakes out. And we've had a great relationship over the years, and we'll be there when you're ready to pick it up. So it all depends, but I'm certainly seeing a trend where net new business, for us at least, over the last couple of weeks, has been a little better than customer sales.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's a limited data set
Right.
to
Right.
extrapolate
A
from,
lot that could change. Right.
but that's positive for now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any points that I haven't asked you about that are top of mind that you wanted to share?
No, I think we covered it all. I would, tell people, make sure that you're, just whether you're in sales or not in general, leverage the technology that is there. Don't be afraid of Zoom or Teams. It's fun. You always find out everyone, and we learned a lot of this through SIBF. A lot of people have the same feelings. They're not afraid to say it. Like you said, I don't like the camera either. I don't either. Well, so do the 15 other people that you're probably going to have the
Right.
call with. But if you all do it together, it
Yeah.
becomes a thing, and you can make it a
Yeah.
fun thing. So I would say, leverage technology for the better, and have fun with it. These are very serious times, and there's very serious things happen in the world. If we don't take time out to have a little bit of fun with our team, and recognize the good things that are happening, and have a positive outlook on it. Look, the things that happen, that are the things that are happening now, there will be good things that come out of this. We're learning stuff about ourselves that we didn't know. I mean, people are washing their hands more. My kids now are more conscious of that. That's a good thing, right? And there's still some, there's some good things that can come out of this. Technology is going to change, and we're going to have to start investing faster in technology if we're going to work more remotely over time. That's going to be a good thing. So focus on the positive, and stay in touch with your team, and make sure that we are, don't always have to be about the business, although that has to be some of that, but make it fun and have a theme, and carry on.
Yeah. No, I love that. So before we wrap up, can you
Yeah.
just give a couple sentences about Velocio and what you folks do specifically for customers, in case anyone, because I heard you mention a couple of things about rapid implementation, and that might have piqued some people's interest.
Yeah, so we're a Microsoft partner. We're actually their largest privately held partner. We have about 4,000 clients. We've done about 10,000 projects. We do everything in the Microsoft business space. So primarily our big ticket items are accounting or ERP software, which is in the Dynamics suite, Business Central, and F&O as well. We have some IP around. We really have a good focus on professional services. So we have our own IP built around professional services industry. One of the cool things, and one of the things that's made us different, and I think one of the things why our net new sales have not been hurt yet, is because of our IP with F&O, called a product called Axio. Allows us to implement enterprise type solutions like F&O from Dynamics, at a third of the cost, and usually a third of the time than Oracle or even other Microsoft competitors. That's a really cool thing. And then in the mid-market space, we got a product built around project accounting that, again, built for ProServe. So, and then as well, we do everything that's Microsoft Office related. So from Office 365 to Teams, and deploying that, and administrating license. And of course, we do our old favorite CRM, CE as well. with a
Yep.
specialty in field service and professional services as well. And you mentioned the rapid remote. So in our mid-market business, we have rapid remote offerings for CRM, which again allows us to do fixed fee implementations remotely. We don't have to set foot in your office for both BC and for CRM.
So something predictable with fixed fee, and when everything else is uncertain, at least you can have a little certainty around that.
Right. No, it helps. We can get someone up and running with just basic sales and marketing for, 17 to 30 grand, depending on the requirements. And then maybe that's just a stepping stone. They need something and we'll add to it later on. So yeah, we certainly can do that.
Oh, excellent. So my takeaways from this call were our show value. That's just should be an all the time thing. Using good judgment, um, being sensitive to the situation, and then last but not least, using our spidey sense in remote conversations and calls should
Yeah.
not be underestimated.
Absolutely. I would add two more. Be prepared. I think it's even more
Oh,
so to be prepared for this.
yep,
And last, have fun. If you're not having fun doing what you're doing, then don't do it.
yep. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Dom. I know that you are crazy busy with family and work and juggling and extended family in other states. So really appreciate you spending the time with us.
You're welcome. My pleasure. I love doing this, and hopefully a bunch of people see this. But thanks for asking. I'm honored and feel privileged that you asked me to do this.
Yeah, thanks.